The 20th of October 1992. The world tunes into the US presidential debates. The Cold War was finally over, and the internet begins its ascent into everyday life. Yet, amidst the clamor of post-Soviet Moscow, a quiet yet profound shift was taking shape, one that would irrevocably alter the landscape of world finance. Within the walls of a seemingly innocuous office, Sergei Mavrodi, once a university lecturer, was orchestrating what would soon be revealed as one of the most staggering financial schemes in history. This is the tale of MMM and its architect, a story woven with dreams and delusions. With nothing more than a vision and a veneer of credibility, Mavrodi crafted an illusion so compelling it ensnared an entire nation, blurring the line between hope and hysteria. The ripple effects of this scheme would extend far beyond Russia's borders, challenging global financial regulations and shaking the confidence of investors all around the world. With the collapse of the USSR, Russia found itself navigating through the rough waters of a transition from a centrally planned economy to a market-based system. The nation was in grips of profound economic instability, high inflation, unemployment, and the rapid privatization of state assets. This period of uncertainty created fertile ground for speculative financial ventures, as the traditional safety nets had crumbled, leaving the population desperate for any semblance of financial stability. In the midst of economic chaos, 37-year-old Sergei Mavrodi identified a golden opportunity. Transitioning from his role as a university lecturer, he embarked on an entrepreneurial journey, founding MMM. This venture was positioned as a beacon of hope, promising prosperity and financial security. He cleverly capitalized on the vulnerability of people accustomed to a government-planned economy. Their fundamental misunderstanding of how market economies work made them particularly susceptible to his scheme. MMM promised very high returns to its first investors, claiming to operate a mutual aid fund where members could earn up to 30% monthly interest. To represent investments, MMM issued what they called tickets, simple pieces of paper that played a big part in making the plan work. But to really get how it all went down, imagine this. Someone promises that if you give them a cookie today, they'll return 2 cookies to you next week. Intrigued by the offer, several people decide to participate and hand over 1 cookie. When it's time to fulfill the promise, the organizer indeed returns 2 cookies to each initial lender. However, the catch is that these cookies aren't coming from a mysterious increase in the organizer's cookie supply, but rather from new participants who have just joined the scheme. Enticed by the promise of receiving more cookies in return for their contribution, the process seems to work flawlessly, especially as those who receive their promised cookies start recommending this incredible opportunity to their friends, leading to a surge in new participants eager to invest. MMM's operation mirrored this principle. Sergei Mavrodi promised investors remarkable returns, and initially, it seemed like he was delivering on his promise. The first group of investors received their promised returns, not from any legitimate business earnings, but from the money provided by new investors who were drawn into the scheme. This apparent success led the initial investors to spread the word, recommending the scheme to their friends and family as a lucrative investment opportunity. The influx of new investors, convinced by the testimonials of their acquaintances, sustained the business, creating a cycle of funds flowing from newcomers to earlier participants. This process contributed significantly to the rapid growth of MMM, as the promise of easy money, validated by the experiences of trusted friends and relatives, enticed millions of people to join. At its peak, MMM claimed to have 15 million participants. But how did so many people get roped in without smelling something fishy? As MMM entrenched itself in the hearts and wallets of Russians, the genius behind its marketing strategy became evident. Sergei Mavrodi knew how to tap into the post-Soviet mindset, blending hope, national pride, and the allure of quick money to create an almost irresistible appeal. MMM's propaganda machine was everywhere, From flashy TV commercials on the newly liberalized Russian television to bold ads in newspapers and billboards, painting a picture of prosperity accessible for all. However, at the heart of MMM's persuasive appeal was Sergei himself, whose personality and public image played a crucial role in the scheme's success. Despite his position, Mavrodi maintained a very plain and simple public persona. He always dressed casually, wore enormous glasses, and never displayed any ostentatious signs of wealth that might suggest he was siphoning funds for personal gain. This captivating image was masterfully crafted through media appearances and testimonials from early partners, eager to share their stories of sudden fortune. In Mavrodi, they didn't see just an average oligarch, but one of their own, someone who had outsmarted the system and wanted to share the secret. They didn't see Lamborghinis or flashy displays of wealth. They saw a regular guy like you and me, whose goal was to help everyone make some money. With his charisma and charm, he drew millions into his web of promises. But it didn't stop there. Remember those MMM tickets I mentioned earlier? Those small pieces of paper that looked remarkably like Soviet ruble bills, complete with Mavrodi's portrait? They were meant to bring back memories of national pride and make him look even better. And let me tell you, it worked really well. Even though these tickets weren't backed by anything real, they served two purposes. They represented investment in MMM and also reminded people of the Soviet times when things were more certain. Despite not having any real value, other than popular demand and the promise of exponential growth during times of crazy inflation, they were used as money substitutes, showing how much people believed in this idea. And if that surprises you, wait until you hear what's next. In Moscow alone in 1994, depositors were putting in $50 million every single day, just to give you an idea of how much money this scheme raised. There were places to buy and sell shares and tickets almost everywhere, kind of like currency exchange booths today. Actually, you could get and trade MMM papers at the advertised prices whenever you wanted, which made it seem like everything was legal and stable, at least for a while. But what really got people was the psychological appeal. In a country going through tough times, the chance to get rich quick hit home, stirring up hopes for security and prosperity. Promising big returns with little risk caught the attention of many looking for a better future, so they ignored any warning signs. The ads didn't just promise money, they also promised that feeling of community and belonging that people wanted during those times of great change. Mavrodi knew it all too well and planned every move carefully. In fact, on the eve of New Year 1994, a time when the whole country was glued to the TV, hopeful for a better future, Mavrodi made his boldest move yet. In Soviet countries, religion was marginalized for half a century, so New Year's Eve celebration with the president's speech amassed even greater significance than Christmas. But this time, if you were in Russia, tuning into national TV, you'd see Sergei Mavrodi himself, appearing to wish the nation prosperity and endorse MMM. It was a masterstroke. It wasn't just a simple ad. It was a powerful endorsement of the company's legitimacy that blurred the lines between reality and illusion even further for many millions of viewers. That moment solidified Mavrodi's place in the hearts of the Russian people and marked the peak of MMM's influence. The scheme grew really fast, attracting investments from all over Russia and beyond. Regular people, teachers, doctors, workers, put their life savings into it, convinced by the ads and the colorful tickets representing their investment. This kept the money flowing into the project and more people joining, making MMM a big deal under Sergei Mavrodi's leadership. But as MMM's influence grew, so did the attention from the Russian government, which finally started to get suspicious. The downfall of MMM started in July 1994, when the Russian government, worried about the scheme's growing impact and its potential to mess up the economy, cracked down on it. Investigations into MMM and Sergei Mavrodi's dealings revealed the unsettling truth hidden behind the facade of apparent prosperity. The whole thing was basically a Ponzi scheme, surviving only because of the money coming in from new investors. Honestly, it's still a mystery how the government didn't see that MMM didn't have a real business model for so long. Once people realized that MMM couldn't keep going, panic spread fast among the millions who had invested. The government stepped in, freezing MMM's assets and arresting Mavrodi in October 1994 for tax evasion. It was a big deal. Mavrodi got arrested, but he also got elected to the Russian State Duma, which protected him from prosecution. But the media, once praising Mavrodi's big promises, now exposed the truth. Investors, who had hoped MMM would make them rich in Russia's growing economy, had to face the harsh reality of losing everything. The losses from MMM's crash were absolutely huge, up to $100 billion, which was about 20% of Russia's GDP. That figure shows how much of a hit the MMM scheme had on the Russian economy as a whole. It was a real mess, a very painful loss for population trying to escape poverty, but at least it made the problem clear. And this time, the government actually did something about it. After MMM fell apart, the Russian government set up a special team to look into and control pyramid schemes, making more people aware of financial fraud and consumer rights. Even though MMM crashed, some people still saw Mavrodi as a kind of Robin Hood character. The fallout from MMM went way beyond just the money lost by investors. It made Russia rethink its financial rules, leading to stricter measures to stop dodgy deals and protect investors from getting fooled again. The MMM mess also had an impact worldwide, making other countries take a closer look at their own rules. But funny enough, this didn't stop Mavrodi's opportunistic and criminal spirit. In the years after MMM collapsed in Russia, Sergei Mavrodi tried to do the same thing in African countries, where people didn't know much about his bad reputation. Countries like Nigeria and South Africa became targets for MMM's comeback, with Mavrodi using the same mix of hope and desperation that had trapped so many in Russia. It was the magic formula that surprisingly kept on working every time. Finally, Mavrodi's legal battles ended with him being found guilty, but his punishment was surprisingly light. In 2007, he was convicted of scamming 10,000 investors out of 110 million rubles, which is about $4.3 million, and got a 4.5-year prison sentence. Strangely, because he had already spent time in jail, Mavrodi was released soon after being sentenced. This didn't offer much comfort to the many people who lost their life savings with MMM. Today, his name remains as an example of how quickly financial bubbles can form if there are no safeguards in place. Even though Mavrodi passed away later, on March 26, 2018, his story shows that greed and lack of regulations can lead many to ruin. His legacy stands as a warning of the dangers of believing in the promise of easy money. Thank you for watching and subscribe to Inside Influencer for more documentaries.